All right, hey everyone. My name is Atharva. I'm from the Chicago suburbs and I'm going to be a high school junior. My project is associating water insecurity with education and ethnicity. So most, if not all of us, have access to water whenever we need. We can take a shower, go to the bathroom, just get a drink of water. But for many citizens across the US, that is not the case. So this map indicates counties who have a higher proportion of homeowners lacking plumbing, and there's no clear pattern. So past research has already identified certain social vulnerability factors associated with water insecurity, such as education and income, or age and ethnicity, but it has not analyzed the effects of interaction between multiple factors. I chose two factors to look at more closely, education and ethnicity. And you may notice that there is some geographical overlap between counties that have a high proportion of Hispanic Latino citizens and counties with higher proportions of citizens without high school education. So this led me to ask, to what extent is plumbing insecurity across US counties associated with educational attainment levels and ethnic composition? The US Senate publishes an annual American Community Survey, which provides demographic data across the country. And I drew from data from the 2019 to 2023 period to form this data set, which analyzes the percent of county homeowners lacking plumbing, the Hispanic Latino percentage, and the proportions of four educational attainment levels by county. However, when I plotted this data, there was no clear linear trend. So I chose to use GAM models for my modeling approach because they use smooth curves to capture nonlinear trends. And they help to interpret the individual effect of each feature. So, for example, if I remove one feature from the calculation, then I can clearly see, oh, how did the model performance either drop or increase? And then I can interpret the effect from there. So I plotted the contribution of each interaction. And yes, indeed, the interaction did contribute towards the model performance because the graph is slightly curved. There's no flat plane. However, you may notice that the greatest levels of contribution occur when one variable is at its minimum and the other is at its maximum. So, for example, when the below high school education proportion is close to 0% and the Hispanic proportion is close to 100%, the greatest level of contribution occurs. And this is consistent for all the other interactions. So this indicates that interactions between features do contribute towards model performance. To interpret how significant this contribution was, I conducted an ablation study in which we start with a model with all of the interactions, and then we gradually remove interactions. So you may notice that the R squared predictive performance metric and the RMSE error metric both show no significant difference. So this indicates that the education and Hispanic interactions do not meaningfully contribute to model performance. And this suggests that their contribution to predicting plumbing insecurity is actually minimal. So what can we take away from this? Well, the combination of certain education levels and ethnic compositions does not strongly indicate higher plumbing insecurity rates. So counties with both risk factors may not necessarily have higher plumbing insecurity rates than you'd expect based on each factor individually. So what can we do uh, to go forward from this? So this study only analyzed two of the top factors, namely education and ethnicity, but it would be important to analyze whether any combination of the top social factors are a strong predictor of plumbing insecurity. So this project was very meaningful to me. I enjoyed conducting this research, and I for sure learned a lot, but I have to thank a few important figures first. First of all, the coding school for providing me with this opportunity and allowing me to participate in this research program. And then Kayvon Jalali, my TA, he provided me with a lot of technical assistance. And whenever I would ask a question, he wouldn't just like answer right away. He would take a minute to think about it, give me the best answer he could. And lastly, my mentor, Dr. Tara Flauer, her expertise has been especially important to me, and her guidance and patience during our meetings have um, they meant a lot, been very useful. So thank you, everyone.
Good job, Atharva. Seems like everyone really enjoyed that. So nice presentation. Is there any questions in the chat for Atharva in terms of his research? I think for me, it would be more, I'm interested in whether or not you had a personal connection to what you wanted to analyze. Uh, yeah, go ahead.
So I wouldn't say I had a personal connection, but when I was, let me go back a few slides. So when I was looking at some of these vulnerability factors, um, ethnicity stood out. It was the most important factor. But among the socioeconomic factors, I chose education because I feel like choosing income, it's hard to do anything about that. Like, are you supposed to give people more money? Like, if income is a factor, what do you do then? But if education is a factor, then there are more clear steps and more clear action to take in improving education and, encouraging students to continue but beyond high school.
Okay, nice. Anything from you, Kayvon?
Yeah, I was wondering if you looked at the interaction with income at all.
I did not. So for my data set, I only drew on education and ethnicity. But given that income is one of the bigger factors, yeah, that would be like a next step to take.
And I saw you on your plots of the counties. You said you saw areas where education and ethnicities tend to have more water insecurity.
Not when where they have more water insecurity, but there's kind of some overlap in this southern, kind of southwestern US area.
Yes, I guess my question would be, do you have a hypothesis of why this might be the case?
Um, well, One one hypothesis could be that because many immigrants come from the southern regions into the United States, naturally more southern counties would have greater Hispanic Latino percentages. As for the proportions without high school education, um, I didn't have a clear hypothesis, and it's much more spread out. So yeah, I didn't have a hypothesis really.
Okay, cool. One thing I will say, if you do look forward to, diving deeper into this, is I would encourage you to look at where the water in California is sourced from, for example, and whether or not that has anything to do with water insecurity. Most of the water, at least off the top of my head, I believe is from NorCal, and then engineering pipelines bring it down to the Southern California region. So I think that's interesting to maybe take a look at. But other than that, good job, Atharva. Great
Okay,
presentation.
thank you.